Two daughters and their dad. I'm your host, Stacey J. Dempsey, and like always, I have with me the one and only Dad. Good morning, good afternoon to you.
Good morning, good afternoon, everybody.
And I have one of the several other daughters. Good morning, Jennifer Faith. Good morning, good afternoon to you.
Good morning. Good afternoon.
And good morning and afternoon to all of our viewers and our listeners. Thank you guys so much for tuning in with us today. We're so excited to be back together and rolling right on into this new year. And today we thought we'd talk a little bit about, the journey mindset and what does that really mean? Because we're out here, we're running businesses, we're trying to start up businesses. We've maybe been in business a long time, but just like anything else, it is a journey and with ups and downs. And certainly we've talked about challenges and struggles and how to overcome those types of things on this podcast. But Dad's been reading a new book. And remind me, Dad, what the name of the book was. The Excellence Mindset.
No, inner excellence. And
Inner
it's
excellence.
not, yeah, inner excellence is not new. It's been out for a long time, but it's kind of got revigorated out there because that's the book that A.J. Brown for the Eagles was seen reading on the sidelines during the Super Bowl. And so it kind of got a reawakening, so to speak. So, um, and it is a very, very good book, and it really does focus on mindset and really the journey, you know, if you're in business or journey in life. So yes, that's where a lot of this is coming from.
Yes. And so, kind of before we hit record some of the things, again, a lot of things that we all struggle with, the comparison of maybe where we feel like we are or where we should be compared to other people, maybe in our industry, feeling like maybe we're behind in some way, but just, there's and certainly I can attest to this, a lot of anxieties around different things now, that just can make like what kind of brings to mind for me is like you ever hear people say, man, that just sucks the joy out of it. And whatever that thing is, it's like, man, this journey that we're on really is, it's a privilege. You might hear people say, and I've said this my last workout, man, I'm so excited. I get to come here and throw these dumbbells up in the air. I get to, and it is true. But it's having the mindset of just being able to enjoy the journey, even if we're part of the journey is not feeling so, maybe not so great, or we're having a challenge, or we're just in a change of season, and that brings maybe not as much clarity as before, which we kind of talked about on our last episode. Maybe not having all the clarity, not having know what all the goals are, but just being in that and finding what I think the language you used, Dad, was what is this supposed to teach us right now? So maybe share a little bit, Dad, with what kind of you've read in the book. You had an acronym, the BFF doesn't stand for Best Friends Forever, but at least not in this episode. But why don't you share with our viewers and our listeners a little bit about what you've experienced with the book?
Yeah, I mean it's really about understanding, yourself and understanding, growing in your understanding of who you are, and then growing in your understanding of the journey that we're on. Again, this podcast is geared for business owners, entrepreneurs. So, that's kind of who we're focusing this, but this obviously can relate to anything in life. No matter if you're an entrepreneur or if you're, someone in sports, someone in a different profession, a parent. I mean, it really is about just realizing that everything is a journey that we're on, and so we have a couple of choices that we can make. We can allow the journey to empower us, or we can allow the journey to just be heavy, and be challenging and rob joy or rob peace, or and again, there's I mean, you know, and I know, and our listeners know people who are going through some very, very hard stuff. So this isn't to diminish, the fact that, people are going through hard things, very hard, whether it's through health or financial situations or family situations. Um, so I don't want to make light of that, like, oh, enjoy the journey, but we also have to understand that there's so much of all of this that we have no control over. And so, whether again it's in business, there's external things, whether it's the economy, whether it's just changes in your business, whether it's technology changing your business, whether it's of course AI becoming disruptive. I mean, there's all kinds of things out there, that can be challenging. So I think what the book focuses on, and is a good reminder of, because we kind of all know it, not that we operate in it, is you know all right, how much control do I even have over this? And if I have no control, then we have to realize that we're probably, it's not going to serve us to push against it, to fight it, to try and figure it out, try and take control of it. That's where we end up with that lack of peace, with the worry, with the anxiety. I mean, let's face it. I mean, anxiety, worry seems to be just a growing, almost feels like it's almost epidemic. Everybody you talk about is dealing with something, in that regard. And so, so just understanding now, but the things that we do have control over, then that is what should be getting our attention. And that's where we should be operating. I can control, you know, some of the process that I do every day. I can control, you know, um, getting up and, get moving and, not allow things to, just hold me back from pursuing, these goals that, I can influence and that I can have, um, I can have uh, impact in. So, that's a big part of it. So you mentioned the BFF. It is an acronym for B is for belief, F is for focus, and the other F is for freedom. So just in the process of the journey, just be comfortable with what you believe, about who you are, what your business is, um, and and be, as you said, Stacy, I loved it. I get to, so that's a place of gratitude. That's a place of thankfulness. Like, wow, I get to get up and you know and pursue things that are important to me and things that I have control over. And that's where I want to place my focus. I'm not going to place my focus on the things that I don't have control over, because if I do, what's the result? Not going to change it. And I'm going to be now distracted from these other things. And so when you kind of think about that and think about that all the way through, now it creates this freedom that we have in our lives to be able to operate um, in a way that, again, we are operating in kind of that place of freedom, knowing that we're focused on what we can control, we're focused on what we believe in, and and that's the best we're going to be able to do, and be grateful for that, and be thankful for that. So that's, again, there's a ton in this book, but that's kind of the overarching theme, is to kind of take control of our inner self and our thoughts. And so it's been helpful for me, because I can certainly go the other way very easily. There's so much happening in the world. There's so much happening, you know, in business. There's so much happening in family, that I can start to, get attached to those things I don't have any influence in or control. And so then, then comes the tossing and turning at night, or then comes the, waking up, not feeling, like, yes, I'm ready for a new day. I'm excited. It's like, oh, you know, it's, how am I going to deal with this and how am I going to deal with that? And, and those are usually the things that, I don't have any control over. So anyway, that's I would just my point of all of that is, in 2026, you know, I know our last episode we talked about goals. One of my big goals in 2026 is to, really embrace the journey of things. And when things aren't going my way, when things aren't good, instead of pushing against it and creating more tension, anxiousness, whatever it may be, I'm going to let go of it, have a loose grip around it, and say, okay, what's this meant to do for me rather than what's it meant to do to me
Yeah.
from a growth standpoint.
Yeah, and I think a lot of business owners and entrepreneurs can sit back and think, man, what's a topic, what's a something inside my business that I have maybe a negative self talk around. What's something that maybe there's a project that the business has been working on that isn't going, has it gotten to where maybe you feel like it should be that now we need to take a different. Uh, mindset around. I mean, there's a plethora of things I think a lot of entrepreneurs can sit back and go, this thing is really affecting my business. And like you said, Dad, pushing against it, but rather than saying, all right, well, maybe I've done everything I can for it right now, but what am I supposed to be learning from this? What am I supposed to be? I'm supposed to be getting something out of this. And I think that could change the way that a lot of people can look at a lot of different things, business or others. Um, Jen, you look like you were getting ready to say something, and I cut you off like usual.
No. Yeah, it's funny because we were just having this conversation about, traditionally inside of our industry and my industry is, December is one of the busiest months of the whole year. And then as soon as, December ends, January comes and it's the slowest month of the year. So we're on this super high, and then, we're smacked with this low in business. And, you know, I've been doing this over 15 years. I know this well, and I've been able to, you know, expect it, plan for it, be prepared for it. And, you know, it still amazes me that from our industry, the shock of like, January slow, I must be a terrible hairdresser, my business is failing. And it's like, we just jump off the deep end. And, even to the point of like, I don't know if I should even be a hairdresser anymore. And it's just so emotional. And so I think it's, that is a huge part in being in a industry and having a business. It's understanding ebbs and flows and not being emotionally tied to those things. Matter of fact, today, my salon is going to close at 3 o'clock because we don't have any clients from 3 to 8. And it's wonderful. Like, I'm telling my staff, like, this is amazing because we were just so busy in December. Everyone was working so hard, working extra, that everybody gets to go home at 3 o'clock today and get their kids off from school. And so it's not all bad, right? And I think, it ties back into having that mindset and being able to understand that, in business, in life, it's not going to come without challenge, but it's really about how we show up and what our mindset is around it that makes it fulfilling. Things are going to happen inside of your business that is going to be hard. That's going to make you question, your ability, but it's about how you show up, how you respond. And so if anything that I've learned myself from this podcast is I feel like, a lot of entrepreneurs in 2026, a huge goal for us would just be mindset, right? And learning how to enjoy the journey I know me and dad are similar in that way, where it's like when something is not maybe going the way we want to, we start to lose sleep, we start to stress, we start to think about it, and it's just not worth it. We want to be able to, you know, be able to be a problem solver, but not let it over, consume our whole personality. So it's interesting that we were talking about this because I'm just like, what is wrong with you guys? It's January. Nobody wants their hair done. That doesn't mean our business is failing. Let's all take a chill pill here. Um, and just
Well, it's
be able
so
to enjoy
difficult.
the slow times, right? Sometimes it's like, oh, my business is slow and I'm so stressed out. It's like, how can we enjoy the slow times? But then also know when we're in those busy times, it's pedal to the metal, get your butt in here and let's go. So that we can enjoy those slow times and not be so freaked out um, when our business may.
Well, Jen, you're right because we're in January, and we've probably brought this up before. Like in our business, you just you finish up your year, and of course there's a lot of measuring in our business. Company measures us based on growth and profitability and what we've brought to the company in terms of new business and then there's a list of how you match up with everybody else in the country. So it's really a production minded mindset. And so you push hard, you're looking, and we had a very, very good year in 2025, thankfully. But now here we are the first week and everything's zero again. And I'm sitting like, okay, where's it going to come from? I'm looking at like you said, you're just coming off this busy time and you're like, all right, I don't like my week, I don't have enough appointments, you know, are we off to a bad start? I mean, those are the kind of things, and that's the mindset that you have to, like you said, be careful with. It's like, all right, we're back in transition. There's a lot of things in the pipeline. There's a lot of people who said, let's connect after the first of the year. So and it's the same every year,
Right.
but yet your mind goes, we're off to a bad start, and it's week one. You know, it's like it's January 5th or yeah,
Yeah.
6th. So, it's like we're not off to a bad start. So, yeah, again,
Barely even off. Barely even. We didn't even launch yet. But
right.
I'm agreeing with you, Dad. It's like, oh gosh, I don't think I have one stitch. I got the podcast to do on Tuesday. That's the only thing in my schedule right now. I'm stressed out. Somebody.
Yeah. So,
Yeah.
again, because now you're looking at, plus you're looking at your numbers, what in your business, you're like, okay, well, here's what we did last year. Maybe it was a very good year. Maybe it was a very, maybe one of your best years. And you're already thinking, how am I going to do that again? What did we do? And what if we don't do it again? And I made some decisions around, cash flow being around the same. And it's just stuff that we have to just say, whoa, we can't go there. We, like you said, if you have some downtime, again, use it for whatever you feel like you need to use it for. If it's to rest, if it's to just take a break, or if it's to do some planning, just realize that it's okay. It's all right, to have that. But I get you completely. It's something that you know a lot of us deal with in our industry, in our profession, at the beginning of every year. So,
Yeah. Yeah.
Well, sounds like y'all two already have some goals. I'm still working. I'm still on my words. I need to get it together. Episode two, you guys got like three goals. I'm still on a word. Anyway, I'll get my act together. How about it? I'll get it together.
yeah, that's right.
But Dad, so remind us again, what's the name of the book? Inner Excellence. I want to make
Inner
sure I get it
Excellence,
correctly
yes.
so we can
Jim
tag it.
Murphy is the author. Again, the book's been out for, you know, don't fact check me on this, but I think about 10 or 15 years. But, it was very popular when it first came out and then kind of fell off. And then, the Super Bowl reinvigorated it. And that's how I learned about it. And So I read it, um, but it's so chock full of information that you can't really capture it all in one reading. So I did the audio book, and now I just listen to portions of it every day. Some of it just again to be able to internalize, the concepts in the book, or around, again, just building yourself from the inside out, and growing yourself, and not because you know the things that whack us around, um, is the external things that we have no control over, and then it comes and impacts the inside of it, which we do have control over, right? We do have choices. We do have the choice of saying, okay, that's either going to cause me to be um, you know upset, mad, or it's like I have no control over it, so I just have to let that go, and it's then all of a sudden you find yourself just at just a better place of peace, right? Which is what we're looking for. And I think that's what I heard you say, you know, Stacy, early on, that I'm just looking for progress and peace in
Yeah.
2026. And I think we're all can line up with that goal. Progress and peace would be a great banner to put over 2026, I think. So,
Fabulous. That's my banner for 2026. Put that
yes,
right at the top. My my paper.
yes,
Put it at the top of my vision board, Jennifer. I'll let you steal that for your vision board. How about it? We'll get an update next episode on your vision board. No pressure at all. It's not like you got anything to do. Anyway, well, Dad, thanks for sharing that book with us. I'm definitely going to take a look at it. We'll make sure, we'll link it to our podcast so that our viewers and our listeners can also take a look at it. And why don't you guys, our viewers and our listeners, why don't you guys report back and let us know maybe a tidbit, a nugget that you found in the book? We'd love to hear from you guys. And so we'll see you guys in our next episode. Bye bye.